rare and balanced view on politics in today's world. Based on facts, born of rationality, common sense, and logic, providing context on today's events, this is American Perspective with Rick Thomas.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to American Perspective. Oh my gosh, it's Thursday. Well, I got some bad news for all of y'all and for myself. Yeah, isn't that how it's pronounced down in the South? All y'alls? Like, all y'all? Yeah, I've got some bad news for you. Unfortunately. And it's bad news for me, too, because I get to take a business trip next week. So there will be no show Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday. That's right. There will be no show Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday of next week. It was a last-minute business thing that popped up, and I unfortunately have no other choice but to go. I know it sucks. Believe me, I even thought about, yeah, I know, no pay. It's always no pay. Well, there's not much pay anyway, but, unfortunately, it's my other overlord that is calling me, not the matriarch of the Whiskey Warrior P1s. But the matriarch, she unfortunately is going to get overruled on this one. Yeah, I know. That's, it's horrible too, because I thought about potentially bringing something to try and stream, but realistically that would only happen based on the events that are scheduled. It would be a lick and a prayer. Okay? A lick and a prayer if I could have gotten something on Tuesday night. And as it goes right now, I can't even guarantee that. So it seems real, I know I've done this in the past where I've said, "Hey, I'm going to try." Well, I'm done trying. I can't control the schedule. I can't control anything. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, no show. I am supposed to return back from this trip and be alive on Thursday. So yeah, so we'll be all right. You guys will survive. It's not a full week without me, and you've got me today, tomorrow, and Saturday. So we'll try and fill you up as much as we can before I have to go. So anyway, yes, no show Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday of next week. That'll be the 31st, the 1st, and the 2nd. Okay, bad news is all over. All right, let's move on to tonight. Yeah, big stories when I return. Yeah, you're right on that one. I might still be able to post like on social media and stuff as things go by. But it all depends. It's just one of those things. But business trips. What are you gonna do? Oh yeah. Bam gets an additional week because she's been promising to send in pics for pet of the week, and she's been falling down on the job a little bit. Well, that's okay, because I fall down on the job a lot. But anyway, all right. So there you go. She gets an extra week. Oh, she gets a week reprieve. All right, let's go ahead and get things kicked off. Tonight, we're starting back at the top of the batting order with none other than Amy. Amy is up for tonight's Pledge of Allegiance. So if you are of mind, please stand. Remove your hat if you're wearing one, like me. Place your hand over your heart and follow along with good old Amy as she recites the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And, of course, I thank you, Amy, for that wonderful rendition of the pledge. If you would like to hear your rendition of the pledge played here on the program, all you need to do is record yourself reciting or performing the pledge in your style. Take that audio file, video file, whatever kind of file, and attach it to an email. Send that email to me. Address it to fans, F-A-N-S, at AmericanPerspective.online. That's fans, F-A-N-S, at AmericanPerspective.online, and I will get you into the rotation. I have 25 of these wonderful items. I'd like to have 26 by the end of 2026. Time is ticking down. So if you haven't done so yet, please do so at your earliest convenience. And if you use your phone to record it, all you need to do is utilize the share option. Once you have the wonderful recording of yourself reciting or performing the pledge, use the share option. That's the S-H-A-R-E option. And you'll be able to share it to fans, F-A-N-S, at AmericanPerspective.online. And I will get you into the rotation as quickly as possible. All right, tonight is, of course, Rumble challenges Facebook to send in their pledges because just about everybody over on Rumble has one. Anyway. Tonight's headline sponsor is, of course, The American View. The American View is victorious. The American View is formerly known as the Institute on the Constitution. They came under new management. And they have changed slightly their focus on all of this. The American View is an independent educational organization dedicated to the objective, textual, and historical study of the foundational documents of the United States. Utilizing a rigorous primary source methodology, our mission, meaning their mission, is to examine the original context, personal correspondence, legal frameworks, and Judeo-Christian philosophical traditions that guided the framers during the creation of the U.S. Constitution and the Bill of Rights. That's right. That is what they do, and they do it in a fantastic way. The start, of course, is their course, their learning course. Go to theamericanview.com/constitution-course, and you'll be able to get the course. It's a 12-week U.S. Constitution course. You're learning it from the founders, and you can sign up at the time to get lifetime access to The American View's U.S. Constitution course. It is a learn-at-your-own-pace style with a nationally recognized 100% online course. Now, you can also check out constitutional leaders have been talking about this. These classes should be taken by every elected official and every U.S. citizen who desires to have the United States governed constitutionally. That is former Representative Ron Paul. It is endorsed by Ron Paul, of course, Dr. Ken Harn, Dr. Chuck Baldwin, who is the CEO of, Dr. Chuck Baldwin, CEO Larry Pratt, who is part of Gun Owners of America, Reverend Colonel John Edsmo, Bill Federer, and many, many more. You can get the course by going to their shop. That's right. Head on over to their shop, and there it is, right there, first one, right on the left. The U.S. Constitution course. You can also check out their other educational resources, not to mention the self-evident apparel. Oh, you know what? I forgot to mention their community. You can be a donator or a sponsor. You can become a member, or even better yet, become an instructor of that U.S. Constitution course. There it is. Leave a legacy. That's right. Restore the constitutional republic and prepare the future by hosting a course in your community. You can go and learn how to become an instructor by watching this video. Then watch their 5 tips for a successful class. Realistically, it's 3 steps to become an instructor. It is seriously that easy. Seriously, that easy. And you can pick up their instructor kit. Their instructor kit, by the way, is a comprehensive resource crafted to empower individuals passionate about the Constitution to share its significance with others. It's a structured approach to teaching the Constitution and Bill of Rights, dispelling the myths that are perpetrated by the left and the mainstream media. It includes detailed instructions for each lesson. Can't get any more structured, man. All you have to do is show up and follow the dotted lines. They will get you there. Okay? So it is fantastic. You can get that instructor kit. Now we head over to the shop. You can get that instructor kit by coming here and picking up the instructor materials, the self-evident apparel, so on and so forth that I talked about. But don't forget my favorite right here. That's right, the Legacy Library. The Legacy Library is filled with all kinds of leather products. Ooh, I love my leather. Yeah, you can pick up the leather. These are wall hangings. You can pick up the leather Declaration of Independence, the leather Bill of Rights, the leather Magna Carta, and also the 4-part leather U.S. Constitution wall hanging. But your best bet, honestly, is to get this little rounded, cornered book. That's right. This is the rounded, cornered, sexy rounded corners. Saddleback leather book has a 100-year Roman numeral ascending numerical order guarantee. I swear 3 Chevy rewrites this thing every single time to try and catch me off guard. Regardless of whether or not our host is broadcasting his show. That's right. You can pick these up. And, yeah, let's take a look at this thing. It's got 1/8 of an inch of Saddleback leather wrapped around pages that are water and tear resistant. No cheap glue here, folks. There is constitutional stitching right here, which is a noun, according to G. Binding cordage tasted by Billy and reputed to have a patriotic side effect. See in God we trust. Yeah, that's right. So go and grab your leather-bound U.S. Constitution today. It does have a 100-year warranty against materials and manufacturing defects such that if you have a problem with this, they will either fix it or replace it for free when you send it back to the manufacturer. It is buddy tested, buddy approved, Billy tasted. See, there you go. Billy approved. And my youngest whiskey warrior has confirmed that the information contained within will help you to achieve your civics badge in Scouts. Not to mention, you will probably pass that civics exam and your naturalization test. It's a threefer, all out of one book. And this little book right here is less than $20. Where are you going to get a product for less than $20 that is guaranteed for a 100 years? You can pass this thing down as a family heirloom. I'm going to. I can almost guarantee it. It's a family heirloom. You can pass it down from generation to generation for that 100 years. It keeps the guarantee. Man, seriously. Anyway, head on over to theamericanview.com, go to their shop, go to their Legacy Library, and pick up yours today. Carry it with you. Put it in your pocket. It's pocket-sized. Fantastic. Keep the Constitution with you at all times so that you can refer to it at all times. Head on over to theamericanview.com to look at all of their products and services, and I thank them for being a long-time sponsor of this program. That's theamericanview, all one word, .com. All righty, folks. Well, these leftists, man, as soon as they get a hold of this, man, there's seriously going to be some questions here. So we had the Gulf of Mexico, which turned into the Gulf of America. That's right. Did you also know that we now apparently have a Lake America? Yeah. Trump decided to toy with and troll with Canada. Now, keep in mind, Canada and Trump have been going back and forth about all these deals, these trade deals and stuff, and now there's apparently tariffs, like massive tariffs. I don't know, 50% tariffs on everything, 100% tariffs on everything. I don't know what the heck the percentage is. It could be 1,000% by today, for all I know. But Trump and the Prime Minister of Canada, have been going back and forth, and they have literally started essentially a de facto trade war over all of this. Well, Trump decided to add the icing to the cake, and he has now signed an executive order that says we will now change the name of Lake Ontario to Lake America. So now we have a Gulf of America and a lake called America. He signed the executive order today to officially rename Lake Ontario to Lake America, effective immediately. Trump told reporters in the Oval Office after signing the order with his signature, black Sharpie, and signature. He says, Canada has been ripping us off for a long time on trade, very sadly. He says, even the military, we defend Canada for nothing. We don't get anything. And he added that Canada doesn't want to pay for anything, but wants to be treated like a state, but it's not a state. So the U.S. Department of the Interior will update the Geographic Names Information System to reflect the new name. U.S. Secretary of the Interior Doug Burgum says, make the Great Lakes great again, after issuing the order to his department to go ahead and implement the change. Oh, yeah. You got to give him this. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney said in a statement on August 22nd that the lake's historic name is Lake Ontario and that it will remain the same then, now, and always. Like I said, they're trading barbs back and forth. Oh, my gosh. He said the lake was originally named after the Wendat word Ontario, which means the lake is beautiful, the lake is big. He said the name is more than 400 years old, predating both the Confederation of Canada and the Declaration of Independence of the United States of America. We know that America is changing their trading relationships, their foreign policies, their national monuments, their hydronyms. Yeah. Anyway, Trump suggested the idea first of renaming the lake on August 25th after Ontario Premier Doug Ford criticized him with insults and profane language over the new U.S. tariffs that hit Canada on August 24th. Trump subsequently issued statements of his own with insults directed at Ford. When asked about the issue, Ford said on the 25th that it's best that the two sides tone down the rhetoric, noting things got a little personal yesterday between the president and myself. Really? Maybe you should have kept your damn mouth shut. Anyway, this is not the first time that Trump has renamed a body of water. He renamed the Gulf of Mexico to Gulf of America. Yeah. So Trump said on August 27th, we have a Gulf and we now have a lake. Now all we need is an ocean. Maybe we should change the name of the Atlantic and or the Pacific. Maybe we'll change them both. Oh my gosh. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Well, trade negotiations, of course, completely collapsed. And now Canada has announced that it is countering the tariffs done by Donald Trump by imposing a dollar-for-dollar counter tariff on hundreds of American goods, amounting to essentially Canadian to $27.6 billion. In U.S., that's $19.9 billion. The new tariffs were announced by Canadian Finance Minister François-Philippe Champagne. I think that's how it's pronounced. Well, it's champagne, but let's face it. Anyway, during the August 25th press conference, will come into force on September 8th, increasing costs for imported American items ranging from seafood to furniture. Okay, I'm just going to put this out there. How many people in America, I mean, seriously, how many people in America actually utilize Canadian products? I mean, I can only think of Crown Royal, Canadian whiskey. That's the only thing that I know that I use on a regular basis that's a Canadian product. Now, I do know that we get a lot of lumber from them, okay? And that would be the tariffs that we're imposing on their goods coming into the country. But they utilize a crap ton of our stuff. They utilize a crap ton of our stuff, mainly just because of the fact that, let's face it, I mean, especially when you're talking about agricultural goods and things of that nature, okay? Canada is way up north from us, and so they don't have the same length of growing season that we do. Now, we do buy food, we do buy some things, you know, there's stuff that we do buy, but like it is with just about every other country on this planet, we produce more goods than we utilize from these other countries. And we export more to them. This is part of the reason why there's a trade deficit. We export more to them than we import from them. So, yeah. We'll kind of have to see what happens here. Which one of these two people who are pissing into the wind is going to blink first? I'm just saying. Anyway. Oh, apparently Champagne or Champagne, well, however it's pronounced, anyway, promised a $7.5 billion in federal support for businesses that are going to be affected by the tariffs. So in other words, the Canadian government is going to subsidize their Canadian business. So where did I hear that before? Oh, yes. Socialism. Oh. Whatever. We'll see. This is probably going to be gone by the end of the weekend, I'm sure. I mean, you know, again, keep in mind, the tariffs are not going into place yet. This is just all threats. The tariffs from Canada, they, like I just said, is not going to be in force until September 8th. So I wouldn't be surprised to hear next week when I'm not on that, oh, yeah, Canada, Trump and Carney have, gone tiptoeing through the tulips and they've got a trade negotiation and everything's cool. So I wouldn't necessarily fret it at this point. Anyway. Yeah. All right. Whatever. The thing about it is, though, that does become increasingly frustrating is the fact that we seem to be tariffing the crap out of our allies and not tariffing the idiots over in China that we need to really be going after. But anyway. All right. Well, okay. Here we go. I know you guys love this song. So here we go. Here's the...
You're a dumbass. You're a dumbass. You're grade A, #1, bona fide first class. You're a dumbass. You're a dumbass. And you'll be one all your dumbass life.
Tonight's dumbass. Well, he's been awarded it before, but tonight's dumbass is Chris Murphy. That's right. Oh, Chris Murphy. Oh, wow. He's from, Connecticut, I think? Anyway, he's a Democrat senator. Yeah. Oh, my God. Oh, Senator Chris Murphy. What a complete moron. I'm just telling you. So we'll just call him a dumbass. But here we go. Here it is.
What can and should be done to solve this problem? Well, I guess you first have to identify what the problem is. The problem, according to the Trump administration, is a country that has been invaded, a country that is at risk physically because of the presence of people from other countries. That is a fake problem. That is not a real problem. Nobody likes to hear this.
No, I'm pretty sure it's an actual real problem. I mean, everything since Trump has come into office and has been able to begin the deportation, the ending of TPS, for many groups of people who have been on it for frickin' almost a full generation. The number of crimes that have been committed by these people has significantly dropped to lows that we have not seen in decades. Okay. American manufacturing is beginning to roar back. We have American jobs are going up. A number of Americans who are on those jobs are going up. The number of foreign people taking up American jobs is going down. You also have our GDP, which has grown for the first time in a little while. So, yeah. Not to mention the fact that we now see all of the fraud and everything else that these aliens who have come here to this country have all been taken up. That, J.D. Vance's fraud group is finding all kinds of things. Feeding Our Future in Minnesota, the Medicare, Medicaid stuff out in California, and I'm just glossing over a couple of items. There's all kinds of stuff that is being benefited by the fact that we are targeting aliens and illegal aliens who are here. Now, yeah, it's kind of interesting that he's sitting here and he's saying that, because the people apparently that he cares about the most are the undocumented aliens, they're illegals, in this country. That's who he cares about, all right? So, yeah. And X, of course, wasn't all that happy about it. They let him know. There's a lot of people out here who let him know. There was one in particular who was posting things. Let's see, what's this person's name? Skin_ITG. He posted a few things here. Let me just posted a few pictures. You can see here of like Hassan Piker and, other stuff talking about the all of these things. He's like, oh, Chris, please mansplain to us more of the party propaganda. Did Debrina just spontaneously combust? Yeah, that's talking about an illegal alien who lit somebody on fire. This person goes, there are thousands like her who have suffered from your strategy of opening our borders up, or opening our borders for you to build up a fake voter base. Yeah. That's just an example. And there's more and more and more. They just let him have it. Oh, one person named Lisa Ann Georgia, Lisa Ann, Annega, says, tell Laken Riley's family that she is but one person it has happened to. Yeah. The rising housing costs. That was one, right? The crime. Rising prices on food. Increased taxes to pay for all of the welfare and the welfare fraud and everything else. All of that's no big deal, according to Murphy. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's just, yeah, it's a fake problem. No, it's not a fake problem, folks. It really is a problem. Now, you got to keep this guy's comments in mind when we go to vote in November. Don't forget this. Oh, one thing that has been tossed about back and forth with regards to, illegal immigration or immigration as a whole. There's a lot of people who are like, hey, you know what? we didn't have immigration laws back before a certain date, like the early 1900s, as an example. Okay? And we haven't had problems with that in the past. Well, a very intelligent man by the name of Milton Friedman. He addresses this information. He addresses this situation. He talks about it. And I want you to hear what he had to say about immigration.
Always been amused by a kind of a paradox. Suppose you go around and ask people. The United States, as you know, before 1914 had completely free immigration. Anybody could get on a boat and come to these shores, and if he landed on Ellis Island, he was an immigrant. Was that a good thing or a bad thing? You will find hardly a soul who will say it was a bad thing. Almost everybody will say it was a good thing. But then I suppose I say to the same people, but now what about today? Do you think we should have free immigration? Oh, no, they'll say, we couldn't possibly have free immigration today. Why, that would flood us with immigrants from India and God knows where. We'd be driven down to a bare subsistence level. What's the difference? How can people be so inconsistent? Why is it that free immigration was a good thing before 1914 and free immigration is a bad thing today? Well, there's a sense in which that answer is right. There's a sense in which free immigration, in the same sense as we had it before 1914, is not possible today. Why not? Because it is one thing to have free immigration to jobs. It is another thing to have free immigration to welfare. And you cannot have both. If you have a welfare state, if you have a state in which every resident is promised certain minimum level of income or a minimum level of subsistence, regardless of whether he works or not, produces it or not, well, then it really is an impossible thing. If you have free immigration in the way in which we had it before 1914, everybody benefited. The people who were here benefited. The people who came benefited. Because nobody would come unless he or his family thought he would do better here than he would elsewhere. And the new immigrants provided additional resources, provided additional possibilities for the people already here. So everybody could mutually benefit. But on the other hand, if you come under circumstances where each person is entitled to a pro rata share of the pot, to take the extreme example, or even to a low level of the pot, then the effect of that situation is that free immigration would mean a reduction of everybody to the same uniform level. Of course, I'm exaggerating. It wouldn't go quite that far, but it would go in that direction. And it is that perception that leads people to adopt what at first seemed like inconsistent values.
And there you go. There you have it. That literally is the difference whenever you have a leftist who sits here and talks about, oh, well, before 1914 we had free immigration. There were no immigration laws. Well, that's because before 1914, all of the immigrants that came across the water and came here to America, they provided for themselves and they created things here on the shores of a burgeoning country. Now, after we can take this, after 1914, but a little bit farther out, after the institution by, FDR in the New Deal of welfare, and, all of this other stuff where, hey, we're going to provide, the government is going to provide you a certain level of subsistence when you come here. That carries all the way over to today. That today is, hey, you know what? We provide all of this stuff for you. You come here. Yeah, we give you everything. We give you food stamps. We give you basic level income. We hand you a cell phone. You get all these benefits when you come walking in through the door. And it actually doesn't really benefit anybody. And this is the difference. And this is why there is a difference in desiring, hey, immigration, I don't care. We didn't have immigration laws. Well, yeah, because we needed them. We don't anymore. And all they're doing now is coming here and sucking the life out of our government and out of our current taxpayer system. See, the taxpayers are the ones that are paying for all of this, whereas before, when you came here before 1914, you provided for yourself. Now, if we had a policy, let's say, of, hey, we're going to go ahead and we're going to make it so that you can come here, but you are not going to get anything. You need to come here and provide for yourself. Well, that would be something completely different. And I can almost guarantee you that if we were to do that, you would see the flow of immigrants coming here, illegal immigrants coming here, and just hanging out and getting all of our wonderful fruits of our labors. It would slow to a trickle. Probably it won't completely stop, okay? But it would certainly slow to a trickle. And I'm telling you, people, this would be the way forward to make sure that we do not have an open door policy like what we have under the Democrats. But that's exactly what they want. They want these people to come here. They want them to become basically wards of the state because that creates Democrat voters for life, as we've already seen with blacks in this country who still are having a problem, generationally speaking, having a problem voting for anyone other than a Democrat. Hopefully they're starting to wake up, though, now. All right. Speaking of immigration, you remember all the raids and everything that happened in Minnesota, and then, of course, Alex Preddy and whatever, God, I can't think of her first name, Renee Good. There we go. Renee Good. All of these, all the interactions and everything else where Minnesota was like, we're going to make sure that the ICE agents are going to get theirs. They're going to get what's coming to them. They don't have immunity from prosecution from state level, blah, blah, blah. All of that stuff. Yeah, well, Minnesota apparently tried to get a hold of an ICE agent that lives in Texas. Minnesota filed a lawsuit that was designed to force Governor Abbott, through a temporary restraining order, to force Governor Abbott to sign an extradition treaty. An extradition order to send this individual back to Minnesota. Well, there's only one problem. How can you force someone to sign when Abbott hasn't yet denied the extradition request? We're going to make you do it even if you haven't said no. Oh, okay. So in other words, you're going to force me to do it. Well, a Texas judge, a federal Texas judge says, that's premature. So no, I'm not giving you a TRO to force the governor to do something that he hasn't even denied yet. Oh, God, these people, these leftists seem to believe that, hey, just because I am the governor of a state, this is Tim Walz, of course, I'm the governor of a state, you will do what I tell you. No, we're not going to. We're not going to. So, yeah, U.S. District Judge Fernando Rodriguez Jr. rejected Minnesota's request for a temporary restraining order, barring Cameron County Sheriff Manuel Trevino from releasing the ICE agent, while Texas Governor Greg Abbott decides whether or not to actually extradite the agent to face assault charges. So, I mean, Abbott basically said, hey, first of all, I need to evaluate whether or not this ICE agent is actually a fugitive and whether or not he actually should be extradited. Okay. So yeah, Abbott, of course, swiftly hailed the decision, calling Tim Walz's request absurd. He said the court was right to reject Governor Walz's absurd claim. Abbott's press secretary told Fox News Digital, the Constitution requires deliberate consideration of extradition requests and tasks Governor Abbott to decide upon such evidence that as he may deem satisfactory whether the person demanded is actually a fugitive. Now, folks, here's the thing. Remember, now, first of all, remember that just because a federal law enforcement officer is performing his or her duties appropriately does not exactly mean that they have absolute and blanket immunity. However, blanket immunity is not the goal here. The goal here is, are they protected from doing their job? And in this particular case, the supremacy clause applies, meaning that a federal officer doing the job of a federal, enforcing federal law, regardless of what state he or she is in, may be immune from state criminal prosecution under the supremacy clause if two conditions are met. Number one, the action that the officer was doing at the time was authorized by federal law. ICE agents are authorized to go and arrest people. Now, what had happened with this guy apparently was, as part of the arrest process, the man who this is all about, I don't want to put his name out there, but the man who this is all about apparently discharged his weapon. It went through a nearby door and injured a man in the leg. And this is why the Minnesota state wants to bring him back to answer for that quote-unquote crime. Well, if you don't think that enforcing immigration law and gathering up this immigration person, and keep in mind, I haven't dug deep into the case to understand whether or not, there really is a case here, but chances are there probably isn't. I mean, we've seen all of the resistance. Okay? We've seen all of the resistance here with all of this. So it really wouldn't surprise me any if there was absolutely no there, if you get my meaning. But if the action was authorized by federal law, which it is, okay, and if the action was necessary and proper to fulfill their federal duties. In other words, if another officer reasonably would have acted similarly, then those two conditions basically give the officer, the original officer, immunity from prosecution. So now, only if the officer acts unreasonably, exceeds their authority, or violates federal law, this case, in the discharge of his weapon, then the immunity does not apply and the state prosecutions can proceed. Now, here's the problem. That bar is really hard to get over for the state. And so typically what ends up happening in these situations is the state just sort of says, meh, and doesn't do anything. People, think about this. Okay? Think about this for just a second. if Minnesota had complied and not been a sanctuary state, if Minnesota had turned people over when they are supposed to, okay, all of this would have been avoided. If Minnesota hadn't released illegal aliens into their communities and kept them under an ICE hold, you would have had a controlled environment where the ICE agents would have come to the courthouse or come to the jail, picked the guy up, and taken him and done whatever they were going to do with him, whether it was, deporting him or whatever. See, the problem here is that Governor Tim Walz doesn't want to say, well, it was my actions that preceded this event, and therefore I am ultimately responsible for this particular situation. Yeah. But he doesn't want to do that, obviously. Tim Walz wants to take credit and wants to show the world that, I stood up for the man, or I stood up against the man. I did it. I stood up against Trump, because he's still looking for his man card. Anyway, so there you go. It's a very, I'm kind of making light of it, but it's an unfortunate situation. I mean, in tense situations, things like that go wrong, go bad, whatever. But the mere fact of the matter is, just like if you get pulled over on the side of the road by a police officer, whatever you do, don't assault the cop. Don't argue with the cop. Accept your ticket or whatever it is that's going to go on. If he decides that you need to get arrested, go ahead, get arrested. Take your fight to court. Don't fight it out on the street, because guaranteed you will lose. Even if you win that particular battle, you're still going to lose anyway, because you would have struck a police officer. Your charges would have been resisting arrest, obstruction of justice, assaulting a police officer. And I mean, that's just the top of what I can think of off the top of my head. And God forbid you actually kill the cop. Holy crap. Yeah, you're just adding to your charges. Rack. Yep. The thing about it is if you comply with the officers, generally speaking, you probably won't get into any bit of trouble, because they want to go home just as much as you do. They want to go on with their lives. They've got families. They've got kids. They've got animals that they want to see. They've got their own life that they want to continue. And you're probably going to come out of it. You may not be happy, but you'll come out of it at least alive. But no, instead, you're going to want to try and argue with these cops. You're going to try and fight these cops. Trust me, you're going to be on the losing end before you even get halfway there. You're already on the losing end. So just do what they tell you, do what they ask, and fight it out later in a more controlled environment, if you're going to fight it out. Well, there's a Dem representative who should have taken that advice. You remember this particular woman, LaMonica McIver? LaMonica McIver? Yeah. This girl, or lady, I guess. Anyway, she, if you recall, stood up at Delaney Hall and was actually physically assaulting some of the ICE agents who denied her entrance into the facility. Now, I told you, because many of these people, they seem to think that, hey, I'm a representative. I'm an elected representative. I automatically have immunity. No, you don't. Constitutionally speaking, you have immunity in two places. One is when you are going to and from the Capitol to do your job. And two is when you're on the Capitol grounds. You cannot be arrested for anything in either one of those situations. But going off to an ICE facility like this and breaking the peace, which is what she did, is strictly forbidden in the Constitution. Don't trust me? Read up on it. I'm telling you. So, She has been attempting to get rid of this case. She has been trying to say, no, I have immunity. I was there on official business, blah, blah, blah. The Constitution doesn't recognize that kind of official business. But anyway, she tried to disrupt the operations at the jail. It led to her assaulting federal immigration officers. Yeah. Well, apparently her attempt to get this thrown out, which, by the way, hang on, let me go back to it. Hold on here. Which, by the way, here's the video of her. You'll recall this video. So there she is in the red. She's being arrested because she assaulted the officers. Anyway. So yeah, they're sitting, everybody's sitting there trying to say, hey, get your hands off of her. Well, she committed a felony, literally. Anyway, the federal appeals court ruled on Wednesday, that was yesterday, that New Jersey Democratic Representative LaMonica McIver is not immune from prosecution over this tense incident. The 3-judge panel declined to toss out the assault charges against her, even as McIver argued that her arrest interfered with her legislative duties. Folks, I told you, the only place that she has immunity is on Capitol Hill and whether or not she's going to or from Capitol Hill. That's it. In a statement, McIver said that the court got it wrong and that she is exploring every possible option. Yeah, well, whatever. Now, McIver was indicted on 3 counts stemming from that incident where she and the other lawmakers made Delaney Hall, made it to Delaney Hall in Newark, which houses people detained by ICE. Prosecutors say that McIver physically clashed with law enforcement officials, and she did. So, yeah. So the Third Circuit has now decided to allow the prosecution of McIver to proceed on 2 of the charges stemming from her confrontation with federal officers at the New Jersey ICE facility. So, yeah. They also said that the 3rd charge may be barred by immunity, but must be reconsidered anyway. Now, if she is convicted of all 3 charges, she could face up to 17 years behind bars. Now, that being said, she'll probably get a suspended sentence, probation, and a ton of community service, unfortunately, because, this is New Jersey. So, but yeah, folks, look, just because you're a representative doesn't mean that you're completely immune from all of the stuff that you're doing. Anyway, Ohio figures out that, well, yeah, maybe we can't tell feds where they can and can't arrest illegal aliens. Yeah. Apparently, the Franklin County, Ohio Municipal Court decided that they would cosplay as lawmakers and issued a ruling that federal law enforcement would be barred from making immigration arrests at or near the courthouse unless they have what is considered to be in a judicial warrant. Now, remember, for immigration, and actually for anything, you have the administrative warrants, which deal with immigration, generally speaking, going and picking people up to bringing them to court, that kind of stuff, in order for a hearing on whether or not they're going to stay, whether we're going to kick them out, so on and so forth. And then you have the judicial warrants that everybody is familiar with, where you have to have a judge sign off after the officer presents evidence and swears under oath, under penalty of perjury, that all of the information and the evidence and everything that they gave in order to get the warrant is true and correct, so on and so forth. Now, you recall the Trump administration has been getting away from the judicial warrant system because Democrats want the judicial warrants because it'll slow the immigration system down to a crawl. But the way that the laws are written, you don't need a judicial warrant except in specific certain cases, as in entering private property. You cannot enter private property under an administrative warrant. You must have a judicial warrant. Well, this basically they said, no. Courthouse, which is, by the way, government public property. The courthouse, you can't come in here unless you have a judicial warrant. Well, no, they can. That's public property. Anyway, the county, Franklin County in Ohio, boasts the second largest Somali population in the United States, second only to Minneapolis-St. Paul. Now, the DOJ is now suing the court, saying that the rule unlawfully interferes with the federal laws and the federal enforcement, as seems to be the norm these days, with all these activist judges and Democrat politicians and so on and so forth, as they actively work to kneecap the efforts to hold illegal aliens to account. The DOJ posted to the 2X on Tuesday says, as is true in all types of law enforcement, conducting an arrest at or near a courthouse often reduces the risk of flight and potential safety risks to the public, law enforcement officers, and the subjects themselves, due to the enhanced security screenings in place at the courthouses. Okay, you don't want these people, well, I mean, Democrats don't want these people anywhere, meaning ICE, but you don't want these people in the communities because of all the problems that occur because people are stupid. So why not put them in a controlled environment? No, we don't want them there either. Yeah. So, Oh, I think they're going to find out that this is not something that you have control over, judges. You don't. Again, this is federal law. Federal law allows this. You know, this is the same kind of thing that I keep going on over sanctuary cities. I mean, sanctuary cities, sanctuary states, none of that stuff matters because of the supremacy clause. And the fact that immigration, especially immigration enforcement, is 100% and has been confirmed all the way up to the Supreme Court many times that immigration enforcement is 100% a federal government responsibility. End of story. Well, the Democrats got served another small loss. A Maryland court has now ruled against a proposed constitutional amendment, meaning a state constitutional amendment, that could have paved the way for Democrats to go ahead and redraw the state's congressional districts, in this case before the 2028 elections. The ruling yesterday by a judge in the state capital city marks another setback in the Democrats' nationwide attempts to counter the Republican redistricting movement that has been pushed by Donald Trump ahead of this year's elections. The judge ruled the amendment cannot appear on the November ballot, but he paused the effect of that ruling to allow an appeal to the state Supreme Court. Democrats already control 7 of the 8 congressional districts or congressional seats in Maryland. Democrat Governor Wes Moore called lawmakers into a special session in August with the goal of making it easier to bump out the Republican in that final seat. An amendment referred to the ballot by lawmakers seeks to sidestep a court ruling that struck down a previous Democratic redistricting plan in 2022. It would declare that a constitutional requirement for districts to be compact and take into account natural boundaries applies only to state legislative districts and not congressional ones. That was their hope. Ain't gonna happen. Ain't gonna happen. So, there you go. There you have it. All right, folks. That is it for me for this evening. Do me a favor, if you haven't already, head on over to rumble.com, get yourself an account. It is free. And once you are signed up and signed in, make sure that you search up the American Perspective channel and hit that green follow button to get notified every time that I go live. Also, don't forget to check out my new streaming platform, pilled.net. That's PILLED.net. Go and check them out. On your way out, don't forget to give me a red pill, blue pill, which red pill is good, blue pill, not so good. Thumbs up, thumbs down, or in the case of 3 Chevy, a thumb sideways or in an angle across all my platforms, whether it's X, YouTube, Facebook, the aforementioned pilled.net, and, of course, the aforementioned Rumble. We will see you tomorrow night, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on American Perspective. Have a great rest of your evening, and good night, everybody.